I'm sure you've heard over and over that it's more expensive to live in a mountain town compared to the cities or suburbs. But is that really true? Have you seen any actual data on this? And if so, how much more expensive is it? It's time to find out. My name is Matt, and I'm a realtor and marketer here in Southwest Colorado. Several years ago, I made the decision to leave the hot summers in Texas and embrace a better and more fulfilling life in the mountains. This past week, I was back down in Texas visiting family and friends for Thanksgiving. And I thought, why not try to compare my former life with my current one and the costs associated with both? Now keep in mind, my experiences and standard of living will be completely different than yours. But there are some methods we can use to give us general ideas of the difference in costs when it comes to living this mountain lifestyle. For the most part, we'll be comparing Midlothian, Texas, your average suburb in Dallas-Fort Worth, to Pagosa Springs, one of the more affordable mountain towns in Colorado. Now, this first category is one of the very few where we can get an exact comparison on the cost of goods between two different cities. When I was in Texas, I walked into the local Walmart there and at random selected a few products to compare to the Walmart in Pagosa Springs. Like many, I assumed that groceries here were more expensive in the mountains, but was that the case? Let's go through what I found. Doritos, Oreos, peanut butter, ramen, ketchup, bread, sour cream, cheese, oranges, all the same price. But what about meat? Turkey, ground beef, pork chops, all the same price. What about toiletries? Toothpaste, deodorant, soap, toilet paper, same price. Okay, how about oil? Same price. Blenders, same price. The only item that was more expensive in Pagosa than in Texas was milk. But on the other hand, onions and potatoes were cheaper here. So overall, it's about the same. But there is one item here that far outweighs all the others, and that's beer. And the beer here is cheaper than it is in Texas by about 14%. God bless Colorado. Quick side note, I do not condone drinking light beer. It's not good for the mind or the soul or the mouth. So go support your local craft brewers like Riff Raff that make beers that are worth spending your hard-earned money on. All right, let's jump into probably the biggest difference you'll find between here and Texas, and that's the cost of housing. Now, as the saying goes, everything is bigger in Texas, and that includes housing. My former house was over 3,500 square feet, and there's a reason for that because it's too damn hot in Texas. You need a place large enough to ensure that your family doesn't drive you crazy since it's too miserable to go outside.
It's so damn hot.
So everyone needs their space. But here in Colorado, we have an amazing climate that allows us to live life outside. So we didn't need a large home, nor did we really want one. Too much maintenance. I want to be hiking, mountain biking, camping, skiing, and fishing rather than doing chores at home. So we sold our home in Texas for $500,000 and bought a 1,700 square foot home in Pagosa Springs for $465,000. So while the price per square foot is definitely more expensive in a mountain town compared to the suburbs, we actually saved money by downsizing. But our decision wasn't just about downsizing. What actually started our interest in moving to Colorado was taxes, which happens to be our next comparison. Texas has some of the highest property taxes in the nation, whereas Colorado has the third lowest. On top of that, the sales tax here in Pagosa is below that of Texas and many other states. My current home here in Pagosa was assessed for a value of $623,000 for 2023. My estimated tax bill came in at a little over $2,700. If you were to find a similarly priced home in my former town, that tax bill would be over $12,000. Now, a homestead exemption there will bring it down slightly, but it's still over 3 times the amount that we pay here in Pagosa. Even if you account for Colorado's modest income tax, you're likely to save money in overall taxes when compared to Texas. For me, it was about $6,000 my first year I moved here. But that's not all. We have to account for insurance, our next comparison. A big shout out here to my insurance agent, Drew Mackey. He's my go-to guy that I recommend to all of my clients here in Pagosa Springs. I asked him to pull 2 examples for me for both automotive and home insurance using the same values. To keep it simple, these quotes do not factor in bundling. His home insurance quotes were a good $2,000 cheaper here than in Texas, which makes sense because your roof in Texas is almost guaranteed to get destroyed by hail or tornadoes at some point over the next decade. Whereas here, we don't have those kind of dangerous storms. We have the good kind, snowstorms that bring lots of powder to Wolf Creek. But what about car insurance? Pagosa was about $500 cheaper than Texas, which makes sense because of our remote location. Our biggest threat is the occasional deer, rather than thousands of distracted drivers with road rage looking at their phones while stuck in a traffic jam. There's simply less accidents here than Texas, along with a much lower crime rate. But there is one thing when it comes to cars that is more expensive here in Pagosa, and that's gas. Our next comparison. During my visit to Texas, gas was around $2.75, which was pleasant to see compared to what we are paying in the Pagosa area, which is around $4. But here's how I think about this. I was a commuter in Texas, and at one point I was averaging almost 100 miles a day commuting to the city and back. But here in Pagosa, I'm only driving about 30 miles a day, really if that. So even though gas prices are cheaper in Texas, I spend less on gas here overall. One other note when it comes to cars is vehicle license registration. Renewals here are significantly more expensive than in Texas. There's basically an additional tax that declines with each year of service of the vehicle. Right now, my 2017 Toyota 4Runner costs about $200 a year to renew, but a new 4Runner would be over $1,000. All right, on to our next one. What about utilities? This is another tricky one because it all depends on how energy efficient your house is. Overall, electric rates tend to be about the same between here and Texas. Over the course of a year, I average about $92 a month in electricity. According to Reliant.com, a similar size home as mine has an estimated electric bill in Texas for $196 a month. For heat, we use natural gas here in Pagosa. Annually, I average about $107 a month, but a lot of homes here in Texas don't have gas, so we'll leave this at zero. For water and sewer, we use about 5,000 gallons a month for our family of 4. Our bill averages about $81 a month. Now this will vary drastically in Texas depending upon your municipality, but in Midlothian, you're looking at about $120 a month for water and sewer. If you have a pool like a lot of Texans do, that number is much higher. Trash here in Pagosa is about $30 a month. In Texas, it's about $25. Internet here is expensive, about $80 a month, but in Texas, you can get it for about $50 a month. When you add it all up, both locations come out to about the same at around $390. For me though, I experienced significant savings moving here from our home in Texas because of how large our house was in Texas. Our electric bill would get over $500 a month at today's current electric rates during the heat of the summer.
No! No!
So again, I'm saving money by moving here to Pagosa Springs. And that's the beauty of this comparison. You have the choice to control your utility costs with the quality and size of home you choose to purchase. Another thing you have control over is restaurants and entertainment, our next comparison. And this is one of those that's difficult to compare. The only restaurants that we have in both locations are basically fast food joints. But I did go by McDonald's in Texas, and well, it's the same price for a Big Mac meal here as it is in Texas. But overall, for non-fast food joints, restaurants here tend to be a little bit more expensive than similar ones in Texas. When it comes to entertainment though, the outdoors are what everyone comes here for. Once you have the gear, it doesn't cost much to go hiking, fishing, camping, mountain biking, or tubing. Ski passes though can be expensive. For our family of 4, it costs about $2,700 this winter to ski the most epic powder days in all of Colorado at Wolf Creek Ski Area. But in Texas, you don't have skiing, so what could you compare that to? Chances are that it's either sports, movies, or bars, basically indoor activities. And the cost to go to a Cowboys game with a family of 4 is about the same cost of a season pass to our local ski area. And I get to enjoy the ski area all season long instead of using that cash to watch the Dallas Cowboys blow it again for 4 hours in December. So entertainment costs will be different for everyone, but what I have found is that once you own the gear, the cost for entertainment and activities is lower here than what it is for the suburbs and cities, especially if you're not a skier. All right, we could keep going, but let's wrap this up since we covered most of the major expenses of everyday living. Overall, the cost of living here in Pagosa Springs isn't all that different than the cost of living in the cities or suburbs. In many categories, it's even cheaper to live here. And in today's world, Amazon is the great equalizer. You can ship anything here. More importantly, no matter what your standard of living is, it's possible to adjust it in order to live the life you really want to here in the mountains of Southwest Colorado. Because it's absolutely life-changing to live a healthier and active lifestyle in a climate that allows you to keep your windows open for 6 months out of the year. It really is like moving from hell to heaven, and I'd love for you to experience this yourself. If If you need any guidance on how to make this transition happen, hit us up. We'd love to help you find that perfect place to call home here in the mountains of Southwest Colorado. All right, it's snowing outside, which means there's fresh powder at Wolf Creek Sea area. I need to get out there and get some for myself. So until next time, cheers.